How you doing today, guys? Let's talk about titanium frame locks. Just what I have found over the years. Please weigh in the comments below if you found something different, if you think I'm wrong in this video or what. But I'm going to share my thoughts and what I've seen over, my knife hobby career, whatever this is, whatever we do, whatever you call this. So I laid out a bunch of frame locks that I have on hand here. Not all of these are mine, but most of them are. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. Let's get into it. So what causes lock rock? What is desirable in a frame lock? And what do I look for personally? And what do I feel is best? To be real honest, most of these are all supreme examples of well done frame locks. Some are a little different than others, more along the lines of these striders, and we'll get into that. But I want to talk about what type of ramp I'm looking for on a knife for the lock face. If we can get a clear shot there. Are we wanting something with a circular? Or do we want something flat? Or, what do I look for? I like it just like this. So there is a slight little curve to it, but it's not super extreme. So we're going to look at some of these examples here. And Hinder is super consistent, so I can pull up just a couple of these and show you what we're looking at here. And these are small XMs. Shoot, I've got some larger XMs here that I should have took out for this video. Oh well, it's already started. But you can see pretty much a flat face there. Pretty much a flat face on this. Let's just look at another Hinder just for fun. Pretty much a flat face, right? And also a thing with Hinder in a well done frame lock that I like is to lock up. I'm going to get my toothpick pointer here. To lock up and make surface contact throughout the whole bar here, or as much as possible. Now Strider has a little bit of a different theory on that, and I'll show you that when we get there. Although they have gone to more of a conventional full surface lockup. Now, if we're going to talk about frame locks, I think it'd be wrong to, I probably even started this off wrong. I should show you the absolute most perfect way, I guess. Searching for the words. Chris Reeve, if you don't know, invented the Reeve integral lock, and I still believe he does it the best. What you'll notice about most of Chris Reeve's knives are they lock up pretty deep. Now, to me, that's very desirable, as long as it's well made. And again, that's what this video is for. What is well made? Well, look at that face. It is ramped. It does have a slight curve, but not much at all. And also, a good trick you can tell if you're making full contact. Well, some of these knives will show them better than others. I hope I'm not trying to cover too much ground too fast. But you'll see the surface being worn throughout the whole face here. So you can tell that that lock bar is contacting the whole thing. It's locked up deep. Okay, I personally, myself, I really like that. This is perfect. You have enough room for a little bit of wear here, but with that titanium making that much contact throughout the whole face, it's not really going to wear much more than that. Right? And man, we'll get into that a little bit later. I should have took some notes for this video because, man, there is so much to cover. Talking about blade stops. And I'll make another video just like this going super in depth about blade stops and how I feel about those. Whether you want an external stop pin, like an XM18 or many other knives, or whether you want something internal, the internal stop pin like you'll find on a Southern. So that'll be a whole nother video. But anyways, we are still talking about lockup, and let me show you how well done this Southern is. If we can get a good focus here, Come on. Alright, can you see, maybe not because the way the sunshine's coming out now, can you see that surface wear throughout this whole area? Let's see. Can you see that burnishing area? We can get it in focus. That means that that lock is engaging the titanium on the face of this. Now this is a non-lock bar insert. So that's super important. When you have titanium going to hardened steel, that's okay. Chris Reeve shows us that that's okay. Hinderer Knives does not have an insert yet. This, I'm still working on this. I didn't want to put it together for the video. But Hinderer Knives shows that you do not have to have an insert there to get a really good lockup that's going to last you longer than your lifetime. Just my experience. Well, how would I know? I haven't lived a full lifetime, but you get what I'm saying. Look how this is so well done. It contacts the whole surface area. Also, while we have it here, look how nice I got the fit and finish on that. Holy smokers. Anyways. And I like how deep this is. This does have a little bit more of a swoop than I would like to see. See how that's a little bit more kicked out this way? Where something like a Sebenza, a hinder, is more of a flat. Not quite as steep of an angle. But this does allow for, I guess, to keep the lock right in the center position longer because that ramp is so steep there. But what can happen, and what used to happen to older Striders, I'm going to show you these Striders in a second, was that they had this curve really radical here. And that's when they, both of these have had their blades replaced, and now they have the flat face. Almost flat. It might even be flat. Okay. These are the only Striders I have on hand at the second. So that's the new lockup. They used to really swoop. Let me show you one that still does swoop. And not, if it has the cutout in it, it doesn't mean it's a bad knife. It just means that it could develop problems later on down the line in its life. But if it's locking up correctly, meaning it's making contact with the whole surface, and this one mostly is, you can see the wear marks there, then you're getting more surface area. More surface area of the titanium is touching the steel, which means there's less, how would you say that? Like the force of this lock bar being sprung over is dispersed throughout that whole surface area. Where Strider used to have the theory, and it didn't really work out. It really didn't. That's why they switched to this flat. Now they're kind of blended. And I know I'm kind of talking in a lot of circles here, but alright, instead of touching the whole tang, Strider believes, and who am I to tell him any different, right? Back in the past, Strider had swooped this like crazy, okay? And then also, they believed, I'm going to have to break out the pen and paper, and yes, I did come prepared for that. They believed that it should, for strength, contact on the very bottom portion. So, I don't know how well this is going to work out, especially with our shadows. So this is the tang of the knife, right? Oh man, you really can't see it. Let's say this is the tang, then it comes up into the front choil, this, and then the blade, right? Very, very crude. I know the pivot would be here. Okay, so they wanted this swooped in a little bit, and not swooped this way, I'm talking kicked in just a little bit. The lock bar either straight or pulled back a little bit, and they wanted contact where the actual titanium touches the steel. They wanted it to be at the very bottom portion. Now this is highly exaggerated. And then it comes here, and that was the frame. Okay? But do you see all this space here? All this space here. So they were wanting, okay, this is the blade. super hard to draw through a camera. This is the grind. That's the pivot. That comes up like that. However, right? You guys get the point. Wow, that is an absolute terrible drawing. I swear I've drawn a knife before. This is the pivot. Remember, this is the pivot. And it would be pushed back a little more. Anyways, I'm just trying to show you exactly what they want to do. They wanted that lock bar to contact the very bottom. That way, if he was trying to fold this blade closed and spine whack it or whatever, wherever the lock would need to work, right, it was making contact with the very outer portion of the knife. Which means, paired up with their swoop on their lock face, that only a corner, and I've made videos on this in the past, they're way, way back, and I'm looking top down like this, right, looking at that swoop. You get it? So anyways, the corner of this was paired up with hitting the corner of this, which caused a lot of lock stick later on in life and early in life too, because they had that one tiny corner. And I did a SNG breakdown video on this, explaining why it's very important that your your Strider breaks in before you talk about how sticky it is in the lockup. And you know, the old lockup Striders used to come, they could come a lockup like this, and then once they were broke in, by the time that this titanium had kind of mashed itself and molded itself to the lock face, it would kick in, you know, to about halfway or even more. And then, of course, because you was only contacting the very, very corner of that titanium to the very, very swoopy tang, that was the only wear spot. So when you close this knife on an old lockup, you would see one little tiny wear spot right there. And that's how they designed it. That's how they wanted it. Maybe they wanted that lock stick for people who were actually out there in the military, public service, using these things as hard use knives, and us knife nuts, we just don't like that. I don't know. Is that a load of bull, or is that the truth? I have no idea. I'm just here trying to explain what I've seen. So now, because the consumers demand it and Strider's listening, they've probably seen so many knives back that they kind of had to change and get with the times. They went to this flatter face. They also still do favor, from what I've seen on the examples I've seen, do you see a little bit of space there? They still favor locking up at this lowest point here, which is great for leverage, because if you was going to kick this knife down, you would want, if anything, you want this very bottom portion touching to give it the most leverage for the most strength, right? But we can see by the wear marks on this that Strider does indeed lock up. See all this crap here? I haven't cleaned these knives since I got them back from Strider, but Strider does indeed make a lot more contact. So to me, I found their locks to be more reliable now. They don't stick as bad. Striders, and I do favor that in all frame locks. Not all of them have it. But when you open up a Strider with a nice firm lockup, or any frame lock that does not have a insert, I like just the slightest bit of stick. This one actually has it too. Just listen. It's just the right amount of stick. And I like that a lot. It's not inconvenience. It's not an inconvenience at all. It doesn't make my finger work any harder at all. It's just that slight, you know, let's show you this one. Just that very slight. Oh, this one didn't do it. Didn't open it hard enough. Do you hear it? This one doesn't do it like my other one does. Not quite as much. You really have to. And then watch. Anyways, enough about Striders. I really, really like the way that their lockup is now. And please weigh in. You know, if you've had one, you don't like the way they do. I also want to go over something because I had seen it on a few knives now, an adjustable stop pin. That should be for another video, but I'm going to do it on this video because I do think it pertains to lockup because it directly affects lockup. This does not have an adjustable stop pin. Again, I'm just showing you the situation. You can see how it's making contact. I think we already went over that with this one. Yeah, we did. We put the loop on that. Let's see this one. And then we're going to talk about stop pin and then we'll get out of here. This is the Quartermaster Mr. Roper. I don't remember. Oh, look. Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Alright. I've got a story on this knife too. I never got back with you guys. Throw the knife on the ground here. I did send this out for harden testing for an RC test. And I have to go back and look at my notes. But it's a lot better than expected. Anyways, stay tuned for that video. Alright, I don't know why they swooped this out such a large cut and didn't leave more surface area for the lock. But you can see that's engaging pretty well too by that wear. Do you see that wear? It's at right about where a Sebenza would be. And is making contact. But the only thing on this is I would have liked to see, for some reason, I don't know why this swoop is here and why this is not just a little bit larger. Maybe I'd like to see that coming up all the way up to here because you see how much room they have to lock up here. So out of this whole area, we're only getting contact from the tang of that to about here. And all this is fluff, right? Anyways. This has a ferocious detent. So that's that, the Quartermaster. Still can't recommend this knife, but anyways, enough about that. Let's look at a yeah, I wanted to show you some really well done liner locks too. Look how deep this Grayman's locking up. Now Graymans are really different. This is an earlier Grayman Dua. Okay, so I can't say for all of them. What the heck did I get on that? I've been carrying this one a lot lately. I like it. Look at that lockup. You can see how large that tang is. Looking for my pointer. Look, so we're making contact from here all the way up to here. That's beautiful. Picture perfect. Good job, Grayman. It would be nice to see that swoop not quite as ramped like this. Maybe bring it down like this and maybe not do the curve right here. Maybe do a little bit more of a flat face. But it works. I'm not telling you guys how to make your knives. You guys are do a great job. But just know that's what you get with Graymans. And sometimes Graymans ship super early like this. Like so early when you open them, they barely kick over. You got to like really gravity, throw wrist into it to break them in, some of them. But once they do, I've found this is a little deep for a Grayman. I found them usually sit about halfway and they're perfect. So anyways, that's the Grayman. Let's get a look at some Sebenzas. Very normal for a Sebenza to lock up late. I have 4 examples right here on hand to show you. Very consistent. I have some, and I don't want to show these off too much because I'm making a standalone video for these dudes. Ah, nice. The way the sunlight's coming in, we're not going to be able to see exactly what I did to them anyways. Look at that. Look how consistent the Sebenza is. I've got one more to show you here too. That's late lockup. Not late. To me, that's perfect. That's a little bit over 50%. It's perfect. Again, flat face on the tang. Got one more to show you. Flat face. Let's see where this locks up. Look at that. Right about 50%. So, again, that's going to be another video too. I know. Keep teasing all these videos, but it's the truth. I want to make another video. I did it years and years ago. Are high-end knives worth it? And do you get what you pay for? And blah, 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 blah. Yes. You don't even have to watch that video. Yes, most of the time you do get what you pay for. That almost applies for everything. So you can see, even though this has a lock insert in it, Zero Tolerance still did a great job getting full contact. And then pair that up with the lock bar insert that is stainless. You almost have zero stick with a real nice tight lockup, and it shouldn't move. This toothpick space in here, where I can put it in here and wiggle it around, should be the same. If I carried this knife every day for the next year, it might move a tiny, tiny bit, in theory. Man, I wish I had the patience to actually test a knife that thoroughly. But take a look at their ramp. Look at that. This stop is in the way. I guess we could have looked at it open. Very flat, not ramped real radically. Alright, we are running 20 minutes. I've already looked at the hinderers. Let's get a look at some liner locks. I'll show you this one more time. I have found that this is just perfection. Almost perfection. I need to do a touch-up review on this knife because now I've put it through a lot more use. When this first come out, we'll talk about that on the lock stop video. I thought that flat face interfering or touching that round was going to be an issue, but it hasn't. It hasn't. So, all right. The same thing with liner locks. So everything I just said for the frame locks goes for liner locks too. Okay. You can see this is swooped quite a bit. It hasn't moved much because I think the way Spyderco has this spring, instead of coming all the way down like a frame lock, usually springs down near the rear, which kicks this whole lock bar over gradually. Does this make sense? Where this liner lock looks like it's coming right off here as a pivot point. So it's kicking over like this. So ideally, kicking over way up here, look what it does to that face. It puts this liner right in line, so a 90-degree would be a little more ramped. So it's almost an optical illusion. This is ramped, but because the pivot point for this locking liner is about right here, it makes that angle more like this, which makes it lock up nice and square with that. Hopefully that's not gibberish and making some sense. And if we look at the wear pattern on the knife, if I can get some sunlight in there, yeah, it's dirty. Not showing you really well. Anyways, you can see they've got it, the wear marks is for about here to here, but more on the bottom than anywhere near the top. So anyways, these are older knives. This is a really old one. You see how the style has changed though. I don't think you'll find many new knives with this sort of crazy ramped. But it does work on the military again because that pivot point's right there. Very consistent though. I can tell you, I've put this knife through hell. This is my gardening knife. I don't have a garden, but my like pruning knife. See all those scratches? I've had this thing for a long time. In fact, this is such an old military that it doesn't even have the milled-in liner on the front scale. Or this one does. Anyways, enough about that. Let's get a look at the Emerson. In Emerson, I know they can be spotty, okay? I don't know if it's because this one is the Prestige, and understand I don't have that much Emerson experience. But what I can tell you is the one I have here. Look at that, very flat face. Look at the absolutely picture perfect wear mark throughout the whole face of the Tang. Do you see it? And look exactly where that liner lock is engaging. Exactly where I like my liner locks. I like it this almost all the way tucked in. So the full width of my liner is covering on Tang. I wouldn't like it if it was any earlier like this. No. I wouldn't like it if it was like that, right? Why would you want that? You want at least the whole thing. Perfect. And because of the wear marks on that, we can see it's locking up, making contact with the whole surface. In theory, this liner lock should last a long time, and that's if, the caveat being that the stop pin, again, this is going to be on my stop pin rambling video. It's got a bunch of lint in it. Yes, I do carry my knives, and no, I don't always clean them when I put them away. I usually look over them, but whatever. That's assuming that that stop pin and the blade tang here, that relationship doesn't change, which it could, being that this is a flat surface going up against that. Again, it does seem to work though. This kind of proves it here. It can work if it's well done, and the proper materials too. So this has to be a hardened stop pin. It has to be shouldered and all set in right and anchored right here, and the titanium has to be thick enough to support the impact from that and that. Blah blah blah. More on that later. A couple well done. This knife really surprised the heck out of me, especially for the price. Man, we got sunlight really fighting us. That's alright, we need to get out of here anyways. Almost 30 minutes. Look at the lockup. Again, Kershaw produced. Yes, made in China. But the truth is the truth. Look how nice that's locking up. Picture perfect like that other Emerson. And look at the wear marks on this. All the way up to here. Now this has that same swoop that the Quartermaster did. I don't know why some knives do that. Quartermaster seems to be extra large. I don't know why it starts way up here and comes way down to here. And it's a little one. Anyways, you're getting full lockup on that liner versus that. So in theory, again, this being a stainless steel lock side on this cheap knife, that's why it's a little heavier. It's stainless on both sides. No titanium in this knife. That should be hardened. If it's Kershaw on them, I would almost guarantee it that this is a properly hardened liner going up against a properly hardened blade, even though if it is 8CR 13 MOV, I believe. I don't know if it's 14 MOV, but anyways, hardened blade steel up against hardened steel. Very tight lockup. I'm talking, nobody's going to want to hear it, but I'm talking just as good as any Sebenza I've ever felt. And it's just the truth, guys. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This does, I should save this for a re-review on this knife. Keeps this thickness all the way down. And that kink is about right here. The pivot point. So it's coming out right here. Again, no lock relief on this at all, which gives it a nice tight lockup. Somehow they got the blade still center. Oh man, I got to stop. I'm not in love with this knife, but I'm telling you, if you want to give a $30 knife for a gift, right here you go. Alright, one more, we'll get out of here. Let me know, guys, I jumped around a ton. Here is a well done Boker. This doesn't really apply because the liner, this is almost a frame lock here with overlays of titanium. Look how thick this liner lock is here. So I don't mind that it's not covering the full surface, because truthfully if it was, it'd be almost at 100% lockup. Look how thick this lock bar is versus how thick the blade is. So this, to me, in my opinion, is locking up perfect. We're a little bit less than halfway, and you can see we're making a lot of contact there. Let's get a look at the wear marks and the face on this. Again, picture perfect. Great job, Boker. Great job, Lucas Burnley. These collaborations are amazing. So you can see that wear mark. It's making contact throughout the whole thing. This also has that swoop. I wonder why a lot of production knives have that swoop. Although look how large this lock face is here, so I can live with it. So there you go, making contact. Now this is also a hardened stainless, and I know it's hardened because I cut mine out. Can you see my cutouts in there? I lightened mine. It was a lot of work. I could tell when I was cutting this. This was hardened stainless steel here. So in theory, that should not move much. Again, depending on the relationship with the knife blade versus the stop pin. Oh man, we'll save that for another video. It's almost 30 minutes. I got 5 seconds left. My camera's going to cut 30 minutes of videos. I'm going to do that video next. Stop pin video. Thanks a lot, guys. See ya.